Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Catholic Truth Podcast, where we teach and preach the faith that comes from Jesus and the apostles. We want to help you to know your faith, love your faith, and live your faith to find love, relationships, dating, marriage, and all of your questions answered on life. And here at Catholic Truth, we want to help you to find that love and find happily ever after. But sometimes on this channel, we discuss other things as well. And today we have a guest with us, Julie Loyne, and she's going to be back with us. And she's discussing Transcendentals. She's been on the show a number of times talking about marriage, the difficulties of marriage, the joys of marriage, and what is marriage. That was our last show, and how to find happily ever after. I mean, many people get married, but most people are miserable or divorced. So how do you find actual happiness in marriage? If you haven't seen that show, go back and check it out. But in this show, we're going to be checking out Transcendentals. Hello, Julie, and welcome back to the show.
Hey, Brian. Thanks for having me back. I know it's a really big topic, and some of your listeners might be like, what are we talking about today? But it's a good
What
one.
are we talking about today?
So this topic came to me like a year ago, and I did not make this up. This comes from a long time ago. The Transcendentals are just this really beautiful concept that all things have the Transcendentals, which the main ones that we're going to talk about today are truth, goodness, and beauty. So that's it. So don't be afraid of the topic title. Transcendental sounds a really big topic, but it's really just truth, goodness, and beauty, and how all things, because they come from God, have these elements.
Truth, goodness, and beauty. I like all of those.
Yeah, they're okay. They're basically like the foundation of our world. Yes, absolutely.
So where did you want to start with this? And what is the point of it? I mean, I think, a lot of people say, especially today, we live in a society that's skeptical, that's more atheistic than ever, skeptical than ever, cynical than ever. And it's like, oh, where's God? Where's God? Where's God? And sometimes it's hard to show God, but I feel like these things can reveal God and reveal his plan for our life if we understand what they are. So maybe you could start there. Where'd you want to start?
Yeah, I think that's great. Yeah, I think you hit it right on the nail. This world is so confused. And I think that's why this topic spoke so much to me. It was like a year ago when I started learning about it, and I couldn't get enough. It was like, I want to know more about these Transcendentals. I want to know more about truth. What is truth? What is goodness? And ultimately, what is beauty? And so that's kind of the reason why this topic has been so influential on me, is because where is the truth nowadays? Where is the goodness nowadays? Our world is upside down. Our world is very confused. So when we
on
look
all of those,
absolutely.
Even beauty.
Exactly. And I think my favorite kind of talk that I listened to about it was Bishop Bryan. And he says, originally, when Plato and Socrates kind of started talking about these many, many years ago, they talked about it as, well, truth. When you hear truth, 2 + 2 = 4, the solar system and all these scientific ideas, when we hear truth, it leads to goodness. We find out what is good, and that ultimately leads to beauty. But Bishop Bryan says we've flipped it completely, because nowadays truth is what I want it to be. Truth is, it's a subjective reality, right? My truth is not your truth. And to be fair, for some people, truth, we talked about this before, I believe, Brian. I asked you what your favorite pizza was, right? I said, where do you like to get your pizza? Where do I like to get my pizza? Our truths might be different. What I like is different from what you like, but that's not objective truth. There is only one truth, and that is what God has created to be. But nowadays, it's what I want it to be. So I was watching Matt Walsh's "What Is a Woman," and he's on the streets talking with somebody, and he goes, "Well, what if I don't think you're real? What if I, Brian or Matt Walsh, do not believe you exist? So Brian, I do not believe you exist. That's my truth." And the girl's like, "Well, then I guess I don't exist." And he's like, that's not true. You exist. You're standing right in front of me. She goes, "But to you, I don't exist." And that's where we're at with truth. Truth is upside down.
I heard a similar story of someone on a college campus, and he was asking, boy, well, what if you think you're a cat, or what if I think I'm a cat, or what if he thinks he's a cat? And the college kid thinks about it for about a few seconds, and he said, well, I guess I hope he's the best cat he can be then. And I'm like,
this is where we're at. And it's actually in the school system now where kids are saying, well, today I'm a cat, so my responses are going to be purring. That's a thing now. Today I'm a turtle, so I'm going to move slowly today. And it's like, but here's the problem with it. No one will stand up to this false idea of truth. So
right.
instead of the adults explaining to these young children, this is incorrect. This is false. This is false. This is false in every way. We are now supporting these ideas of false truth. So,
right.
so
of
we
delusion.
can't start. It's delusion. Can't start now. So when we talk about our faith, when we talk about truth, it's oftentimes not the place to start with people. And Bishop Barron would say, most people can't begin with truth because they can't comprehend what truth itself is. So then he goes on to goodness. Well, what is good for me might not be good for you is our mentality in our world, right? So I think about okay, so we have like the March for Life, and we have the pro-life march. I'm sorry, we have the Women's March and the pro-life march. We have these two drastically different things where women would say, but this is good for me. I'm going to go stand up for these things, but that's good for you. When all reality, goodness is goodness. You can't define goodness based on subjective reasoning. I can't say, well, again, there's some things like, this exercise might be good for me and it might not be good for you. Okay. There's some subjective ways to look at it. But when we're talking about objective goodness, there are things that are good and there are things that are bad. You can't tell me eating a Big Mac is good for you and the salad next to it is not. You can't, that's false. But a lot of people say, but I feel good eating it. I'd rather eat the Big Mac. And you're like, but it's not good for you. That's not objective
I tell people
truth.
I tell people it's good for me emotionally.
Right. Right. It's an emotional goodness.
That's right.
So this is where we're left. We're left with beauty. And this is where I've spent hours in adoration. I've spent hours reading and I'm like, what does that even mean? How does this transcendental, this idea of beauty, how is this what's going to change the world? Dostoevsky says beauty is what will change the world. How? And so I've wrestled with God on this idea. I'm like, how is your beauty going to do this? And this is kind of where my passion has come in because I want people to see, especially in the families and marriages, how you can be the beauty that will change the world. So this is kind of where I want the talk to ultimately be today. But I think we need to understand first why beauty is left. Beauty, however, is not subjective. A lot of people will say, well, again, this idea of what's beautiful to you might not be beautiful to me. And what's that quote? Oh, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? Sometimes as truth and goodness, there are things that are, beautiful in the eye of the beholder, but there's an objective beauty. And Bishop Barron talks about Thomas Aquinas and how Thomas Aquinas is the one that kind of defined it. So there's certain elements. I wrote them down here. So we have beauty, certain things that are beautiful are like perfection. You have integrity and harmony. And then you have clarity, claritas. And before I get into defining those, Bryan, I was going to ask you a question. You're a salsa dancer, you and Kathy, right?
Yes, we do salsa dancing.
Okay. So if you were to watch the most perfect salsa dance, have you ever seen one where you're just like blown away?
Yeah, of course.
Of course. So what elements were in that salsa dance that made it just unbelievable to watch?
Am I supposed to say beauty? No, I'm just kidding. There's a nice artistic form to it, a flow to it, unison and unity where they work in harmony one with the other. Of course, crazy tricks and flips were, but all of it, a big performance. It's all put together and looks, perfect.
It's perfect, right? So Mike and I love my husband. I love my, we can dance, we can move. We cannot salsa dance. I mean, if we went out on the salsa dance floor, and we try to do anything, we would look ridiculous. It would not.
I would love to see that actually.
I'm not gonna lie, it'd be really funny. But if we attempted this, we don't know the form. We don't know how to do it. We've never been taught. We've never done it. Right. So we would be missing so many elements and it would not be beautiful. I promise you it would not be beautiful. Someone might say, oh, but
it wouldn't be
it's
good, true, or beautiful.
no, we would be a lie that we can salsa dance. That's a total lie. So when we look at certain things, there's this moment of clarity. There's this moment where you say, oh, that's a salsa dance, or, oh, that's a beautiful church, or, oh, look at that sunrise.
And in
There's an
fact,
element.
I want to add to that just because like my wife's sister actually commented on that. I think it was her sister. She came to some salsa shows with us once and she saw the performances and after she was done, when she saw like pros dancing, she's like, oh, wow. She's like, and I thought I knew how to dance salsa. Oh, and I thought I knew what salsa looked like. It was like a whole nother level.
It really is like
And then, of course, that whole level of perfection and beauty and goodness and truth culminate in the ultimate giver of all that, which is God.
Exactly. And when we look at certain forms of beauty, it's meant to draw us outside of ourselves. So there's moments, von Balthazar. So he's following me around everywhere. I told Mike he's almost like stalking me. I cannot get away from Hans Urs von Balthazar.
He's the other man in your marriage.
He is in every book I'm reading, and he is so hard to read. He is so amazing to read, but the man is a genius. And so he's everywhere. But he says, every moment of infinity, I wrote down, every experience of beauty points to the infinity. And that just means that anything truly beautiful is meant to draw us outside of ourselves into God. And how does that even apply to us? How then can I take that beauty and change the world? How then can I point myself to the infinity? And this was in this moment of like adoration where I'm sitting and I'm like, God, explain this to me. This makes no sense. And he's like, you are to change the world, but not by me, Julie, or you, Bryan, but by God working within us. Because who is the ultimate beauty? Who is the ultimate truth? Who is the ultimate goodness? It's God. He's the perfection. He is the claritas. He is the clarity. He is the ultimate. So when we look to how I can then change the world, how I can help that, it's by changing myself to being more Christ-centered, Christocentric. So as long as I am myself taking in Christ. So you look at the most beautiful people to walk the planet are the saints. Every saint was the most beautiful person. Why? Not because of their outward appearance, not because of, they were good at playing the piano or they were good at this. It was because Christ dwelled so deeply rooted into their soul that all they emulated was Christ. So when people met Mother Teresa, which would have been a dream, when they met her, there it is. Oh, wow. What timing that is. In case people are listening to the podcast, what's the book called that you just pointed to?
Oh, well, it's actually called Unmasking Mother Teresa's Critics, because a lot of people accuse her of being a false saint. And, she was actually a monster and she actually didn't treat people well. And it's all false, fake, and fantasy. And so I'm going to be debunking all of that.
Oh, I cannot wait to listen to that one. I mean, anyone who attacks Mother Teresa or Pope John Paul II, there's something evil going on.
They have issues. Yeah.
There's something wrong with you. But you look at Mother Teresa and people often said she was the most beautiful person to me, the most beautiful woman. And her hands were mangled. Her feet were twisted. Her back was hunched. She was wrinkly. Like, how was that beautiful? But it's because Christ dwelled so deeply within her. And that is what beauty is going to save the world. And God can use all forms of beauty to do it. But I think it's through the person becoming Christ-centered. That's what's going to change the world.
Absolutely. The more we're in Christ, the more loving we're going to be, the more patient, the more kind, the more good, the more merciful, the more we're going to have compassion on other people and care for them, truly care for them. And that's when people become so beautiful. It's like, wow, they care so much. They're such a beautiful soul. It's like, so that's a good point. And that only comes through prayer. We really, really, really need to get good with Christ and go deeper with Christ and find those deep prayer times with Christ, meditate on his word and such.
Yeah, I think absolutely. Prayer is huge. Having a holy hour, if you can, I know that's a really hard one, especially with kids, but if you can find time to have a holy hour. We do, I think I've mentioned this before, but we have the men meet early in the morning at 6 a.m. on Fridays. It's early. And then they have some time to hang out afterwards. And then the girls meet Saturday morning at 7 a.m. So it's kind of a switch of the spouses. And then you get some, time with your friends. You get, we have coffee afterwards. So I highly recommend, if you can find a priest to implement this. It has been so fruitful for our community. It's been amazing. And adoration is that time where Christ is just sunbathing you in his glory and his graces. And what a better time. And going to mass as frequently as you can. I don't go enough, and I want to go more than just on Sundays. Pray the rosary, doing all these things are ways to become Christ-centered. And it doesn't happen by accident, right? It's not like one day you wake up and you're like, I figured it all out. I'm holy. I got God dwelling in me. It takes effort. It takes work, as salsa dancing does. Bryan, were you good at salsa dancing when you started?
Nope, I was the worst.
I love that honesty. Yeah. So same for me with acting. When I started theater was like my passion. I was horrible. I had no idea what I was doing, but there's this passion that comes within you. And then you want the beauty of theater. You want the beauty, the goodness that comes from theater. You want to know truth about it. You want to just take it all in. And that's what beauty does. It draws you. It takes you outside yourself and draws you to it.
Absolutely. Hence transcends you, Transcendentals. And I think that's why people can walk into a beautiful Catholic church like the Vatican or one of like Kathy and I, when we went on our honeymoon in Italy many, many moons ago, we went to 17 churches and basilicas in 2 days. And every one of them was just like, wow, these huge ceilings, you look up and you're just like, wow. Like it just literally, as soon as you walk in, it lifts your mind and heart to God. It makes you think of God. It makes you contemplate heavenly things, and it transcends this world, hence Transcendentals. But that beauty transcends our minds. It helps us to contemplate God. It brings us to a heavenly atmosphere, to where God is. And that's why the Mass should be beautiful. That's why the traditional Latin Mass is beautiful. And that's why it helps so many people to contemplate God, because the music is beautiful. The way it's celebrated is beautiful. The incense and the perfection with which they celebrate it with is beautiful. Whereas a lot of the watered down Masses are not beautiful, which is why people are not transformed, are not transcended in a lot of times with the music, with the different things like homilies. But, we need this kind of beauty in our world and in our church. We need to bring it back to the max so that people can be transcended through music, through beauty, through the Mass.
Yeah. And being open to it. I think a lot of people are so closed off because they've been given this false idea of beauty, the typical, like, this person's pretty and, I want these things, a shiny new toy. Those are the things that are beautiful. When we can step back from what modern world has explained as beauty, and we can see what God sees as beauty, it transcends you. It takes you outside yourself. Beauty is not meant to be something I take. It's not meant to be something that we get from it. We're not getting anything. It's actually, we're going outside of ourselves for the enjoyment, for the pleasure, for the beauty, to bring us to the infinite, to bring us to God. And there's oh my gosh, there's so many moments, but your listeners, I think, should do this too. Is I was asked one time, what was a moment in your life when you experienced beauty in that moment of like, whoa, like that, you had to pause, you had to step back and just take in your surroundings or take in the moment. And so I asked the listeners, like, think about that. What was a moment? Why do you think that happened? And for me, it was when I was in Switzerland. I was studying in Austria for school. And I was in Switzerland, and my friend and I saw this like little sign for if you want to go hang gliding. And we're like, yes, that's what we want to do. So we met these people, and they brought us up to the top of one of the mountains, pretty high up, and we went hang gliding. But he went first, and then I was left on the top of one of the Swiss Alps by myself, just staring at the most glorious place in the world. And I'm looking around, and it was this moment of like, I couldn't think, I couldn't do anything except just sit in awe. And I was so taken aback. And it was like in this very quiet moment, nobody was around. I was by myself, that I heard, not audibly. I do not hear God's voice audibly. I wish I did, but I don't. But I heard this voice in my heart saying, but you are more beautiful than all of this. And it was not oh, you're so pretty. It's nothing like that. It's your dignity, your beauty that you emulate because I dwell in you. That is more beautiful than all of this. And it was just this moment of like, really? Are you sure? Because this is spectacular. So that was my moment. I don't know if you have one, Bryan.
Um, I mean, I've had similar moments like that where, like, and I've had revelations like that too. In fact, even when I was with Kathy, I think I don't remember if we were hiking or looking at the stars or something, but I remember saying, God, like speaking to me and saying, she's more beautiful than all of this. Someday, when I perfect you with my glory, you're going to outshine all of these stars. You're going to outshine every planet in every solar system. You're going to be the most beautiful thing in creation. You're going to be greater than the angels. And so that is our dignity of who we are as sons and daughters of God. And I have to remember that for her too, that, I have to treat her with that beauty, and I have to remember that beauty, even when marriage gets tough, sometimes I have to remember that's who she is in her essence. That is her dignity. And she's very pretty too. Everybody tells me that. So, that's helpful. But just because you mentioned outward appearances, and I think, if I actually am making a video, I think for tomorrow night on our channel, it's called, Are You Ugly or Attractive? And, but the
Oh,
premise,
interesting.
well, actually, when this video goes on, you already missed it, so go back and watch it. So it's going to be basically everyone is attractive, because I remember seeing this one girl at work. She was the ugliest woman, so ugly for me, and people are so offended when I say that. But the reason I say that is because my friend thought she was the most beautiful person in the whole world, like literally just fawned over her. He thought angels were surrounding her. He's like, have you ever seen anyone prettier? And I used to be like, and I couldn't imagine someone finding her pretty. And then I thought about it. It's like, and I go on about this in the video, but everyone is beautiful to somebody, attractive, pretty, exteriorly to somebody. And everyone is attractive in some way. But here's the thing. If you're considered attractive, or if you think you're attractive, if you have a nice body, that sort of thing, all beauty is a sign. Every part of beauty, or how should I say this? All beauty is a signpost. It's a sign that points to God. So the beauty that we have in our body, or the beauty we have in our looks, or the beauty we have in our personality, that all should point to God, who's the source of all beauty. That's why I don't like, the false modesty in some Catholic circles, where I have to wear a potato sack, or I can't, dress in, normal clothes because people might look at me. Well, they might lust after me or something. Well, that's not your problem. That's theirs. Your problem, your job is to point them. That beauty should, if their mind is in the right place, lead them to God. I've seen very beautiful women, and kind of like your mountaintop experience, I'm like, wow, but I immediately go like, God, you made her really well. You must be so much more beautiful than that. And I start contemplating God. So it actually points to the direction it should, which is God. Mountaintop experiences do that because I love nature. And when I see that, I'm like, wow, God, you're amazing. Women can do that. Flowers can do that. Oceans can do that. There's a lot of things that just point to God if we understand it, and if we have a mind that we can transcend these things to God.
Yeah, absolutely. And even on a really simplistic scale, a good football throw can do that. A good golf swing can do that. A good song can do that. It's crazy when you think of like Aaron Rodgers throwing a Hail Mary pass. There's an effortlessness to it. There's a perfection that he's perfected. He's really, truly, like, it's clear what he's doing. And
You
and
mean
then
Tom Brady?
No, Aaron Rodgers. But yes, I do like Tom Brady too. But when you look at these masterful people in what they've mastered in this art of football, in golf, in music, in baseball, whatever it might be that you're into, beauty when you see it. Like Bishop Aaron loves golf, so he'll always be like, "That was a beautiful golf swing." I don't like golf, sorry, but he even sees the beauty in a golf swing, because it's bringing those things together, that perfection, that clarity, that harmony of all things coming together.
So that's why I sometimes bring like atheists and non-believers to church, and like I'll have them go into a beautiful church and they're just like, wow, as opposed to if you go into like a Jehovah's Witness Watchtower Hall, Kingdom Hall, it's just 4 white walls. It's a business room. Whereas if you go into a Catholic church, I mean, a real Catholic church, not the ones that have been watered down, you see like beauty, you see like, wow, God. It makes people contemplate God. And it makes people realize, okay, there is more to life than me. There's more to life than my little truth of what I think is right, my little good of what I think is good, and I have no idea what's good. I mean, a girl dating, someone who kills people and who steals things and who is abusive verbally, if she starts dating someone else who only steals things and abuses her verbally, she's gonna think he's good in comparison to the person who killed people. Or if she goes to someone who just abuses her verbally all the time, maybe a little physically, but he doesn't kill and he doesn't steal, well, he's good, So
Right.
there's a wide range of spectrum on the good scale. And even if she dates, somebody who doesn't do any of that and he's just lazy, he just doesn't do anything, he sits around and plays video games all day and he doesn't serve her, and he doesn't love her, she's going to think that's good because he's not abusing her,
Right.
So many times what we think is good is not in fact good, and God is the ultimate good, and we need to know God. And when we know him, he takes the blindness away, in a sense, the scales from our eyes, to show us what true beauty, true goodness is. That's why I love what Pope John Paul II says. He says, the problem with pornography is not that it shows too much. And you think it would show too much because the women are showing everything, or men. And but he said the problem with pornography is not that it shows too much. It's that it shows too little. It only shows those parts of a woman. And it doesn't show the woman, the whole woman herself, all of her beauty, her hopes, her goals, her dreams, her sense of humor, her desires, her inner heart, which would die for her children if she had some. The heart of a woman is so beautiful. And it's like, you're only looking at a couple little parts for her, but you're missing the whole beautiful woman. And that is the problem with pornography, is it reduces her down to a couple things that are not her, but are only a part of who she is.
Yeah, I feel like that's the ultimate form of what our society has dubbed as beautiful, right? Is just the body. And
Yeah.
that's where we call your listeners out to seek more, because once you see the beauty, then it should draw you to, why is this beautiful? Why is this good? And then ultimately to the truth. I want to know more. It's our job. People will ask questions, like my brother and I will have conversations about, like, well, what does this mean in the Bible? What is this and what is that? I'm like, we can talk all day what we think it means, but we should probably do some research on it. That's our job, to study, to learn, just like you would with salsa dancing, just like you would with anything. You can't just be okay with the base. With our faith, you have to take it farther. You have to take it deeper.
Right, exactly. And that hopefully will take us throughout our whole entire life.
It will take our entire life.
Yeah. And it's just, I just know, like, I like how you said adoration, because adoration, you're sitting before pure goodness, pure beauty, pure truth, and you're just letting him teach that to you in silence. Sometimes that's the only way we can find it. And we need to model beauty. I mean, if there are any women who are considered super attractive, you do have a nice body, you have a responsibility not just to try to get all this cheap, attraction. The same thing with you guys. If you're, nicely built, if you're, considered, handsome, you have a responsibility to lead people to God through that. And if you're really smart, if you're intellectual, if you do, find truth in a lot of things, you have a duty to lead people to God through that truth. Whatever our gifts and talents are, we're called to bring people to God, because we need truth. Truth. Our society is killing us when we say we can be a cat. A pen can be a pencil, an orange can be an apple. It's whatever you think. You can't find happiness in that worldview. You can't find fulfillment in that worldview. You can't be, if you're a man who thinks he's a woman, you're never going to be happy until you accept who God made you to be and who you are as God made you to be. And that only comes through knowing God. And I've known so many people who have had so many major issues that were completely healed by God, but that only comes through a deep relationship with love and truth itself.
Yeah, it comes from work. It comes from putting the time in. It comes from the effort. And a lot of people don't want to do it. So do it. Just do it.
Just do it.
Just get up and go to church. That's all you have to do. Take a step, move forward.
Yeah. Is there anything that you would like to end on? Any final closing thoughts you had, or anything else you'd like to say?
Von Balthazar, as I said, it stalks me. I will always have a connection to this man, but he says the beauty seizes you, changes you, and then it calls you and sends you on mission. So we're not meant to sit here. We're not We're not meant to sit in it with ourselves. We are meant to go on mission to spread that beauty to the world, to spread God, the ultimate beauty, to bring him to the world, to our children, to our marriage, to our family and friends. And if they're not transformed by it, that's not your problem. God will do it. And I think a lot of people put it on their shoulders that like, okay, if I have to change the world, that's all on my shoulders. It's not. It's God who will change the world, but he's going to ask you to be a part of it. And so take the pressure off, let beauty seize you, change you, and send you on mission.
Yeah, I used to think like that too. I got to change everybody. And I got to still think that once in a while. But my friend yelled at me once and he's like, "Oh, so you're Jesus now. Okay."
Right.
I'm like, "Wait, what?"
Right.
He's like, "You're Jesus. You have a Jesus complex. You think you're going to save the world." And I was like, "I hate you, but you're right." And
It's true.
so I realized that I was putting too much pressure on myself to save people. And even in this ministry, I want to save the whole world because I desire for souls to be saved, but it's not my job. All I can do is what I do. All I can do is the best I can do. And all I can do is plant seeds and let Jesus do the rest and pray that Jesus do the rest. Because really, I can do ministry all day and it'll change nobody if God is not working in and through it. So really, our job in general in life is just to plant seeds and pray a whole lot for people and let God work in their life.
Amen. Amen.
Amen. So thank you, Julie, for coming on the show and sharing this wonderful stuff, these wonderful truths with us. I appreciate it.
Oh, you got it. I'm so happy to be here, Bryan. Thanks so much.
And I would love to have you back, of course, again. And I want to thank everyone else for tuning in today and check out our other videos. If you like this one is more off the love and relationships and marriage topic that we usually do, but it's also, part of it too, because marriage should be beautiful. It should be a reflection of God, the way we treat each other, the way we love each other. And, we should be beautiful for each other. I mean, why let ourselves go and just walk around in Uggs and sweatpants all day? We should continue to try to be beautiful for the other person and not grow lazy in marriage. We should continue to try to serve them, love them, give to them, and not do what's only easy and convenient for us. That's just lazy. That's selfishness. That's the opposite of goodness and beauty. So those are my off the top of my head thoughts I had there.
I love it. It's
Um,
brilliant.
but thank you all for watching. Check out our other videos. And if you're interested in learning more about your Catholic faith, check out our actual Catholic Truth channel, which will teach you your faith and help you to love it, live it, and explain it. Thank you all for watching, and God bless.